You're listening to Creatives Crushing Anxiety, the podcast for online business creatives looking to minimize their anxiety and maximize their productivity through systems organization and time management. I'm your host, Dia Darling. Let's do this. Guys, welcome to this episode of Creatives Crushing Anxiety. Now, today we are talking about outside looking in, why you need to talk to people outside of your industry. Now, if you're like me, you probably have a whole slew of online biz besties who you talk to about, or who you talk to when you're not feeling motivated, or when you're frustrated, or when you had a fight with your mom and has completely derailed your day, or the jerk who broke up with you the day before Valentine's Day, or whatever it may be, a client mishap. And while that's really important and so valuable to have those people who get what you're doing and get the ebbs and flows, highs and lows of online business, it's really important to talk to people who aren't necessarily doing the same thing as you. And what I mean by that is when you are talking to other online business owners, regardless of if they're a mindset coach and you're a VA, or they're a designer and you are a project manager, whatever it is, you still are going to see that you have a lot of the same perceptions and you've heard the same trainings, the same learnings, and all of the things that, kind of put you in the same thought bubble. And while this is great for support, it can sometimes be stunting to your growth.
So today's episode is actually from the blog vault. And just to give you a little history of how that blog post was created and inevitably how this podcast episode was created, is back a couple of years ago, I was trying so hard to start a mastermind group. Because you hear that, you hear, oh my God, you need to be in mastermind groups, yada, yada, yada. Like that's where you grow and expand and make connections. I still don't really have a mastermind group. I just have awesome humans in my life who I can talk to about things. But I had joined a online community and I tried to set up like a meetup for all the people that lived here in my town. And one person showed up. She showed up about 30 minutes late. I was sitting there at a table for 6 by myself. And then this person showed up. Now, it was really interesting to me because she owned a pizza place, which you guys know how much I love pizza. She owned a pizza place, so she didn't really have the online sides of her business. But I discovered a lot of things when I was talking to her that I realized you really kind of miss out on when you only talk to people who are only in the online space. So that is how this blog post, podcast, whatever you want to call it, actually came to be, because I was thinking of all the things that I realized as a result of having this sit down with her. Obviously, that was not how I wanted it to go. I wanted there to be 6 people and us to bond and it to be like an episode of Sex and the City. I don't know. But it still, like, to be one-on-one, it actually was really, really beneficial. So the first thing I noticed was that she really put my elevator pitch to the test. I think a lot of times in online business, we just assume people know what that means. At the time, I was trying to build an online community to support business owners with time management and project management. And she basically told me that's really vague. Um, she was an interesting character. She was like hardcore, no BS, no fluff, which, was actually, it ended up being really beneficial, but it kind of like, I was intimidated. I felt like I was hit by a ton of bricks. And she was like, that's super vague. What do you mean? What exactly do you do? And because if I said that to someone in the online space, they'll be like, oh, okay, I get it. Or even like with mindset coaching, if I just say, oh, I'm a mindset coach, people are like, is that like a life coach? What do you mean? So it actually invites you to get a little bit more detailed, because the thing with an elevator pitch, and I know we feel like when we get into the online space, we kind of ditch the need to have an elevator pitch, but you need to, like, whether it is what's on your sales page, what's in your Instagram bio, like, you need to have a concise way of saying what you do that people understand and that alerts them that you're what they are looking for. So when you are thinking, a lot of times people don't know what they're looking for. They know that they feel frustrated. They know that they hate X, Y, and Z. They know that they want more X, Y, and Z. So instead of saying, oh, I help, da, 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 it's like, okay, really, what do you do? What is the end result of what you offer? And it really made me stop and think, okay, I need to get way more linear on the way that I'm describing what I want it to do. And because if I'm being honest, at that point, I was not in business. I had a hobby that I was hoping to turn into a business. I was maybe selling a few blog posts here and there, but I wasn't actually servicing clients at that time. And I like to think, while I do contribute my success to a lot of like networking, um, it was also that I was super clear, because when I showed up to these networking opportunities, or was more visible in front of people, I was very clear on what I did and the value I could provide to a company or a entrepreneur. So I would say, just try it on lay people. Lay people, I feel like that's the wrong terminology and possibly offensive. um, Try your elevator pitch on people who don't get the online space, whether it's a best friend, a boyfriend, someone who owns a real estate office, whatever it is. Just say, okay, yeah, I am a mindset coach, and basically I help people break through the limiting beliefs that keep them stuck, and I help them move to the next level of what they want to do in business or in life by diving into the stories that they have built, and also some techniques that really work to help them identify their strengths and their weaknesses. I totally just made that up on the spot. But when you say that versus, oh, I'm a mindset coach and I help aspiring entrepreneurs, it's like, okay, but tell me more. Elaborate, if you will. So just like, if you do your elevator pitch to someone who doesn't really understand it, and they can say, oh, okay, so it's kind of like X, Y, and Z, then okay, it makes sense. Or if they're like, oh, that sounds good, but what? Then you need to go back to the drawing board. So the first thing is that talking to people outside of your industry really puts your elevator pitch to the test, because sometimes even people within the online space have different definitions of things, because of where they heard it first. When you think of like human design or life coaching, like when you hear life coaching, that to one person means something completely different to another person. So yeah, that's definitely my first piece of advice there, and the first benefit of these conversations. Now, the next benefit of these conversations is that they open you up to new networking opportunities. As I mentioned before, I was very much like, I got to do all the blog posts. I got to go to all the Twitter chats. Yes, I'm dating myself. Back when Twitter chats, ooh, say that 5 times fast, was a thing. I got to be in all the Facebook groups, and I just need to churn out content and get likes on Instagram. And the truth is, like, all that stuff's great, and having content online is a good way to build credibility. If no one's seeing it, what are you doing? I actually recently had this conversation, or while I was coaching someone, where they were like, I just feel so overwhelmed that I want to create content. And I'm like, how much content do you have now? And this is kind of a tangent, a sidebar. How much content do you have now? Why can't you just repurpose that and re-promote that? Because if no one has been on your website to see it, why do you keep creating more for no one to see? Get what you have in front of people. And when I was talking to her, it really opened up my eyes, because the truth is, like, in the online business, especially back then, it was like, oh, you watch webinars, you join courses, you join Twitter chats, Facebook groups, da 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 da. And that was like, oh, that's how I'm going to build my business. But she actually opened my eyes to the idea of like really networking in person. When I had decided that I wanted to start a mastermind group, it wasn't necessarily even about networking. It was just like, because I thought I should have a group to talk to about business things, even though I really didn't have any business things going on, just a hope and a prayer. But she really opened my eyes to think of like going out and actually making those connections. And that group did not work out. Obviously, one person showed up. I was super intimidated by her. But it did lead me to go out and end up meeting my mentor who I love, who I've worked with, who completely changed my life and got my business off the ground just by making that connection. And when I went to that first meeting where I met her, and people were going around the room, and I got to say like my elevator pitch, because I had refined it to really what I wanted to deliver and provide. She looked at me and she goes, I need to talk to you. And that from there on out, it changed my life. And she loves to tell the story. And if I've told this on the podcast before, I'm sorry, but she loves to tell the story of us meeting, her giving me her giving me her business card, and me emailing her asking her to go to coffee. Now I was still at my 9 to 5, and she picked the date, and I took off work. I was like, I'm gonna take off work and I'm gonna go meet her. And she came and I was like, will you be my mentor? She's like, it was just so cute. She goes, and I was just so blown away. And I think, why don't I ever do that? Why don't I ever ask people to mentor me or help me out? She's like, I just loved you right then. And it's something I think this was maybe four years ago, if not more. And she still loves to tell that story. But it was because like my eyes have been open to the other options for networking and connecting with people. Okay, now the next thing is that they open your mind to different revenue streams. Again, it seems so standard, the offerings on in online businesses. It's courses, one-on-one work, services, like, okay, maybe a membership. Like it's all the same stuff that we offer. And she, as a brick and mortar person, like if she wanted to do webinars to teach you how to make a great pizza sauce, like that probably isn't really going to benefit her. Is she really going to want to do a course where she's teaching people how to make the pizza that she makes in her restaurant? No, because that's not going to help the restaurant. But I was talking to her about different things and how I wanted to help people. And she just was like, well, oh, why don't you do an in-person event where you blah, 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 blah. And like just having this conversation to someone who sees the business world in a completely different sphere. Like business owners have to think out of the box because I'm there. I don't even know how many pizza places there are in San Antonio, but I know that there's a crap ton. I probably go to the same 3 on repeat, but they have to think of different ways. So yeah, she probably wouldn't want to go, like, let's say she owned a steakhouse. She would not want to go to a farmer's market to advertise her steaks. She may want to sign up to have a booth at a beer festival when people are drunk and they're wanting something to like soak up the beer and they taste it and they're like, oh man, this is the best food ever. And it may not be the best steak ever, but it was good in that moment. And then they're just going to remember, oh, I loved that steak. And they're going to go to the restaurant. Um, so she was just giving me these different ideas that I never would have thought of in line because I'm like checking the boxes. Oh, I need content upgrades. Oh, I need like a small digital download. That's a gateway product. And it's like, okay, but what else can you do? What else are you missing? And just having these conversations and not even sitting them down to say, okay, I'm going to pick your brain, but just having conversations about what they do, what you do, and seeing what sparks is it's just a really fun like zone to play in. Okay, so the final thing is that they have a pure vision of your services and industry. Again, it's that hive mindset, that like-mindedness that is so great when you're feeling down and struggling, but can be really like preventative of you moving forward. And I know I'm talking with my hands as we get to the end of the video, I get really into it. But they do have this very pure vision. They're not jaded by their past experiences in the industry, by launches or wins or failures that they've had. They are literally only aware, for the most part, probably, of what you tell them and what they see. So I think I wrote a really good example of this in the original blog post, and I'll share it here. But let's say you're working on the next great American novel, and you know that you need to get your main character to run into her ex, Dr. Handsome, and you just can't figure out how to make it feel authentic. And you may casually mention this to your boyfriend, who the only book you've ever seen him read is Captain Underpants. And you mentioned it, and he's like, oh, well, what if she has a panic attack and her best friend takes her to the ER and they run into each other because she thinks it's a heart attack? And you're like, wait, oh my God, yeah, because she's been on the brink of this mental breakdown a little bit. And so it makes so much sense for her to have a panic attack. And since she's never had one anywhere in the book, oh my God, that's it. That's it. Ooh. And her best friend doesn't really like Dr. Handsome Face. So it'll be funny and awkward and, oh, that's going to be good. And then you're like off writing. And it's the same with business. Like you're gonna tell them, oh, this is what I'm working on, and this is where I'm stuck, and they'll have an idea that maybe your best friends wouldn't have. Sorry, guys, I literally have to cut because an ambulance. I always have trouble saying that word. Started driving by, and I'm sure you can hear it at the end of that clip. But I think that this all boils down to just perspective and getting new perspectives in your business. And it doesn't have to be like me, where I was sitting down at a restaurant with someone, but just being more open. I, by nature, am a bit of a private person, which you would not believe if you've listened to my other podcast, which is coming out, or if you have a conversation with me, you wouldn't think that I'm a private person, but I actually really am. And I'm also very much a Cancer, where I only want to talk about things when I want to talk about them. So a lot of times I kind of shy away from biz talk with my friends or people outside of the industry because I've had this block of they just won't get it, or they'll think I'm just on Facebook all day and that's how I pay my bills. So it was actually, it's really trying and something I had to work on to have these conversations. But at the end of the day, it's so beneficial, and it can be a really casual thing. You can just bring up to a friend that you're having this issue, and they may be able to help, they may not be able to help, but being more open about the struggles, and then also just really talking to other business owners that aren't in your realm, that aren't in the online space, is going to be so valuable. All right, well, I'm going to wrap this up before more trucks or noises come by, or someone knocks on my door, or the dog I don't have starts barking. But thank you so much for listening to this episode. Bye.
This has been Creatives Crushing Anxiety. For more podcast episodes, visit diadarling.com. Did you enjoy this episode? Then go ahead and leave a review on iTunes. You can also subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play. Catch you next time.